with us. Come see why at Dry Pond Animal Hospital and Pet Resort, where medical care, spa treatments, and cozy resort stays are all in one tail-wagging spot. Visit drypondanimal.com, where pets come to thrive.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
All right. Good morning, Lake Norman community. This is not Mayor Woody Washam. I am Robert Carney, Cornelius Commissioner, who is your guest host this morning. And I am joined by a longtime friend and colleague and at times a mentor. He is once the mayor for the town of Mooresville for a long time and has been involved in so many different entities and organizations. He is genuinely a man of service, somebody I greatly admire for all of his work. Bill Thunberg. Bill, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Robbie. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, you might want to pull that up just a little bit closer to you.
All right, thanks.
All right. So what I thought we would talk about today is, and it's, when I have a guest like Bill here with me, we get into almost anything. Actually, we're out in the lobby, and again, we're talking about economic development because that's what I spend a lot of my time thinking and discussing, and I see that as being the answer to a lot of things, sometimes maybe too much. But we're talking, what we wanted to talk today about was the LNTC, Lake Norman Transportation Committee. And this was, Bill, were you one of the founding or founders of this organization?
Yeah, the mayors in 2007 of Mooresville, Davidson, Cornelius, and Huntersville are the ones that formed the Lake Norman Regional Transportation Commission in 2007. So I think your mayor at the time, Jeff Tart, was involved in a lot of that. So yeah.
Wonderful. So maybe give us like the origin story of the LNTC. I don't know that our listeners are, I'm sure that some are, but I'm sure there are just as many that aren't familiar with the LNTC, what it is, how it works, and things like that.
Yeah, well, as citizens, when we're stopped on the interstate or on 21 or whatever road that we're on in congestion, we don't really care whether we're in Cornelius or Mooresville or Iredell County or Mecklenburg County. We just want it fixed. And so in 2007, we did surveys in the communities, and the number one issue was traffic and traffic congestion. And so we came together under the idea that we would be stronger together in participating in developing projects in the region rather than competing with each other for limited resources in the community. So we came together to discuss land uses, and of course, land use planning is transportation planning and transportation, and so everything since then has been headed in that direction. And we do a lot in the area of project development and being sure that we understand the rules of the game and that we're playing by the rules, and we're going to make our project score better than anybody else's if we can. And then also in the area of education of elected officials too, because it's fairly complicated. Just as an example, when I first started doing this in 2007, it was taking 6 years to get a project developed and constructed. Now it's closer to 12 years. So
unbelievable. So you said something that I want to draw out, and it's not something that I think gets talked about maybe enough. Is you mentioned rules of the game or the game itself, and I think from what I understand of the LNTC is it's understanding the rules of the game and then enabling our region to be better at it than everybody else. And I wish, I wish there was more to it than that, but like everything else, all aspects of life, there is a game to be played. And that's the critical function that the LNTC is played is putting the study, the engineering, the designs all on the table so that whenever we're making a request, not just Cornelius, not just Davidson, not just Huntersville, not just Mooresville, but all of us are raising an issue of saying this needs to be addressed. We've done the homework so that the state, NCDOT, and our counterparts really say, okay, somebody in the state has actually got their act together. So whenever we deploy funds, we're putting in the right place. Am I summarizing the LNTC?
Yeah, let me give you a little bit more granular look at it for the listeners, because they may not understand that the state of North Carolina really does all of the financing or the funding of most of the road construction in the region. Those things that aren't developer driven or are local streets are handled by the state of North Carolina through and by the transportation department. So, and they've got like 3 buckets that they deal with, and those buckets are the types of roads.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got statewide tier roads, which are like the interstates, just to give you an example. And then you've got regional tier roads. Let's just say it's like 21 or something like that. And then you've got what they call division tier roads, which are some of the smaller routes around town that are not streets necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are streets, but are not necessarily streets. So the way the funding is allocated, and this is where the rules come in. We submit projects in each one of those tiers. So we have to understand the submission requirements for each of those tiers, and be sure that the projects that we submit in terms of the scope of the project, the cost of the project, and the timing of the project, all we've got the best information. We've got it's complete. So it's gonna compete in the regional tier and the division tier against those other projects that people are proposing, whether it's Monroe or
Mm-hmm.
anybody else in the region. Now with Iredell County, it's a little bit different, but so the statewide tier, there's no competition. So what we have to do on the statewide tier is we have to be sure that our projects, again, meet the requirements.
Mm-hmm.
They're scored properly, and scoped properly, so that they compete well. Because in the statewide tier, you compete with every other division in North Carolina for those funds.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we were fortunate this last round in that out of the 10 projects that were allotted statewide, our region got 6 of those 10 projects.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
So
right.
and so it's not enough money. I mean, we probably had 50 projects that we submitted, and as other communities did, but out of the money that was available, we did very well in that category.
That's
So,
wonderful. Yeah. So now,
Mhm.
tell me, and maybe this will be something that we bridge like after the break, but
Mhm.
what is the timeline that it typically takes on a project like that we're addressing, or on our list, from the idea, the conceptualization of that a project need is there to when it actually we can secure funding on it?
12 to 20 years. It's going to be a startling fact, but
12 to 20 years.
Yeah. And some of these things, because of the expense, they
Mhm.
may sit around longer than that before they even get considered. So,
Unbelievable.
yeah.
Okay, so I tell you what, we're going to dig more into the LNTC and local or regional transportation after this break. Thank you so much.
Connecting you to Cornelius. Stories, projects, and voices. Don't go away. More About Town next, only on WSIC. Local starts here.
We'll expect some considerable cloudiness for our Thursday. High temperatures are warm again, back in the mid and upper 80s, and mostly dry as we go throughout the day. Heading into the evening into our Friday, scattered showers and a thunderstorm possible. Friday afternoon also looks to be drier with high temperatures in the low 80s. Heading into the weekend, Saturday brings some occasional rain. Sunday, maybe not as much. That's your forecast. The WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Hello, everyone. This is Joshua Doby, president of North Main Financial Group. At North Main Financial Group, we move to where you need us: investment management, insurance planning, and estate strategies. No two people are the same, so we customize our planning based upon your needs. reach out to us at northmainfinancial.com. That's northmainfinancial.com.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. The 500 Club in Statesville kicks the weekend off early on Thursday, September 25th with the Thirsty Thursdays tournament. Call the 500 Club, 704-872-9990 for more information on entertainment, golf lessons, club memberships, the Victory Lane Sports Bar and Grill, and tea times. Saturday is the Fall Taba Walk in Old Town Cornelius. Town Hall and the Oak Street Mill are your destinations for a community celebration featuring live music, local vendors, craft beers, food trucks, kid zones, street art, a petting zoo, and more. The Fall Taba Walk is from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Saturday in Old Town Cornelius. NASCAR's National Series return to Charlotte Motor Speedway October 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The Craftsman Truck Series race will be Friday, October 3rd. The Xfinity Series holds the Blue Cross NC 250 on Saturday the 4th, while the Cup Series races the Bank of America Roval 400 on Sunday, October 5th. Click on charlottemotorspeedway.com for tickets and information about NASCAR's fall weekend and the World of Outlaws on the dirt track coming in November. Things are getting wild at the Carolina Classic Fair, and we mean every moment. From October 3rd through October 12th at the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds, you'll find exhilarating rides, irresistible eats, but entertainment that's anything but ordinary. Barn to be Wild means fun for everyone, whether you're chasing thrills, chowing down, or showing off your blue ribbon skills. Steer yourself towards the fun and buy your tickets today at carolinaclassicfair.com.
The Renaissance Festival is back! Saturdays and Sundays, October 4th through November 23rd. There's music, comedy, circus entertainments. Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com. While supplies last. Huzzah!
Stay up to date and find out about local events, job opportunities, real estate information, and more. Visit liveworkplaylkn.com and sign up for the weekly newsletter. That's liveworkplaylkn.com.
Cornelius News, Heritage, and Community. We're back with About Town, hosted by Mayor Woody Washam. Only on WSIC. Local starts here.
And welcome back. I'm Commissioner Robert Carney, guest hosting today for About Town for the Mayor Woody Washam. I've got with me former mayor of Mooresville, longtime mayor, Bill Thunberg. And he is the head or chair of the LNTC, and we're talking all things road, traffic, transportation. So, welcome back, Bill. Before we broke, you had said, I'd said from the conceptual need of a project or a road to actually having it finished and done. How long does that take? And your answer was between 12 and 20 years.
Yeah, it's not the answer that people want to hear.
No.
And there are some exceptions to that, and I'll try and explain it without getting into a tremendous amount of detail. But there's a planning process that's in place, and the planning process really is overseen by the Metropolitan Planning Organization out of Charlotte. That's the CRTPO, which is a federal entity, mm-hmm. And the federal government requires that, because they provide about 30% of the funding in North Carolina that goes to transportation. So the CRTPO really manages the scoring process through 2 or 3 different types of planning cycles, and it's like a 4-year planning cycle. And as I mentioned, there are 3 buckets where the funding: the statewide, the regional, and the division tier. The division tier is probably the tier that people are most concerned about, because those are like your intersections and what people consider to be a local road, but which is really a state road, like mm-hmm. Catawba Avenue. And so there are buckets of money kind of outside the normal state distribution of federal funds that are called discretionary grant funds. And so a lot of times what we do in the case of local jurisdictions is we directly apply to the discretionary grants program for specific projects. It's not a tremendous amount of money, mm-hmm. and we compete with all of the other communities in the CRTPO region, which is fairly large. But it's really important to understand the rules and the policies that go along with the discretionary grants program. And the LNTC brings all of our communities in the region together. It's Statesville, Troutman, Iredell County, Mooresville, Davidson, Cornelius, and Huntersville. And we do our best to develop these local projects so that we have the best scoring projects. And one of the things that I'd like to congratulate Cornelius on is their understanding of what it takes to get that money for their citizens. And the city of Cornelius, the town of Cornelius, has stepped up and made the level of contribution to project development that allows their projects to score highly. And I think, we probably have 14 active projects in the Cornelius region, but the citizens of Cornelius should be grateful to the town board for their ability and their desire to solve the problems of congestion in the region and make the additional contributions that are going to push their projects up in the scoring category. So
that's certainly been a priority, and this goes, I can't take credit for that. I'm a first-term commissioner. This does go back and certainly predates me, but the boards, former boards, as well as our mayor, have certainly listened to the wants and needs of the community and prioritized transportation as a priority. And we've, between road bonds that we've had passed to, allocating as much as we possibly can of taxpayer monies, we've tried to address roads and transportation to where right now we've got 3 construction projects underway, and we've got 4 more that are coming online within the next, I think, 12 to 18 months. Sometimes that date is a little bit fluid, but I believe that's correct. And all of that is because the citizens have at times screamed that roads and vehicle throughput has to be a priority. And Cornelius has certainly put their money where their mouth is. We have absolutely tried to put everything we possibly can towards that.
Yeah, and I want to congratulate the board on that because the average citizen doesn't, from that first scream, if the board said we're going to submit a project after that first citizen screams, or they may have already submitted the project when the customer screams, but at the rate some of these things develop, it takes a while. Because it's, you can't replace process with magical thinking. You can't just say, I'm going to solve congestion and snap your fingers and go out there and have it happen. It's not going to happen. And you can't say, I'm going to go to Raleigh and I'm going to demand, guess what? And, if you think that your needs are great, which they are, the guy in Wilmington thinks his needs are great too. So the STI program, which was set up under, former Governor McCrory, it pretty much says you have to do it this way.
Right.
And your project has to score well.
Right.
And if your project doesn't score well, you got a problem because you are not going to get money either in any of these categories, statewide, regional, or division. And with the local discretionary funds, it is more local, but still your project's got to score well and it's got to follow the policies and the forms have to be filled out properly and everything else. So
yeah, you hit on, again, coming back to it, knowing the rules of the game and being better than everybody else at playing the game. That's really, it's not enough just to say we want to fix roads. And my intention is to fix roads. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to know. You got to know, how do you actually put the needs of your community into a format to where the state will recognize that need and they will prioritize that in the fastest and earliest manner possible. And then what kind of resources can you bring to the table through discretionary funds, whether it be through partnership with the LNTC or locally your own community, to prioritize that project. These are very, very important items that have to be addressed.
Yeah, and you mentioned the LNTC. It's the education part of what we do at the LNTC is to try and help local officials understand that the impact that they have, they may never see that project develop in their term as an elected official.
Right.
They may not, and some of them you may not, at my age, I might not get to drive on it in my lifetime. so the work that you're doing it's important, but it's not going to be an instantaneous solution. There are certain things that are different. For example, if you wanted to put up pedestrian halt lights or something like that, or some other smaller projects, sometimes you can move those along much quicker. But again, at the LNTC, we work together to educate the local government officials, but they have their staff there too at the LNTC meetings, and so it brings everybody kind of a mental alignment with about what the vision is, what we've got to do to be able to meet that vision, and let's get it in on time and be sure that it scores as good as anything.
I think you bring up a wonderful point, is both the staff's education, if they're not, Cornelius in particular is blessed to have Wayne Herron, who is, he is a transportation expert. Whenever you talk about understanding all the players, how to get projects prioritized, Wayne is absolutely phenomenal. He does an incredible job for us. But the other piece of that education is educating your elected leaders. I feel like I was very blessed coming from an economic development background that I knew and understood a lot of these dynamics walking in. So I was a little bit ahead of the game, and one of the reasons why I ran. But there's a lot of people that they just want to have a positive impact on their community. They want to serve. They've served in some capacity. This can be a pretty big learning curve for them. And unfortunately, without the LNTC, it's just the Wayne Herons of the world that has got to beat them, or beat it into their brain of, you got to understand, just your wanting to do something ain't enough. You got to understand the process. You got to understand how we prioritize these things and how we work through the process to make these things happen.
Yeah. You have to call magical thinking what it is. because look, Wayne Herron, I've worked with Wayne for years, and he's phenomenal.
Absolutely phenomenal.
You're going to have to ask who is behind him, but it gives me an opportunity to say that congestion mitigation and transportation planning is not a political issue. It's not a left or right issue. It's what's good for the citizens of the community. And Wayne Herron understands that.
Wonderful.
And he knows how to explain that to elected officials. And then your folks on your board have reacted and said, we're going to put the extra money in because our citizens want it. We're going to be sure that project gets approved because we're going to put in enough money to make it score high.
And so, okay, I love what you just said about it's not political, because so often we're in campaign season, and so often that's the question I get is people are like, are you left or are you right? And I'm like, no. I'm your neighbor, and I care about these items. If you care about them, I have the wherewithal to help get these things addressed. Let's focus on that. And so I think the fact that we're talking about this is beyond politics. This is about getting things done for your community. So I tell you what, you've brought up. I've got a multitude of questions. We're going to bring them back up here in just a second after this quick commercial break.
Connecting you to Cornelius. Stories, projects, and voices. Don't go away. More About Town next, only on WSIC. Local starts here.
We'll expect some considerable cloudiness for our Thursday. High temperatures are warm again, back in the mid and upper 80s, and mostly dry as we go throughout the day. Heading into the evening into our Friday, scattered showers and a thunderstorm possible. Friday afternoon also looks to be drier with high temperatures in the low 80s. Heading into the weekend, Saturday brings some occasional rain. Sunday, maybe not as much. That's your forecast. The WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
At Kane Center for the Arts, we believe art is for everyone. From our exciting performing arts series and gallery exhibits to robust education programs and impactful community initiatives, there's something for everyone. Visit kanearts.org.
Harrison's is the home of Work Western, and wow! For nearly 30 years, our family has been boots on the ground when it comes to work. We have the largest selection of in-stock boots in the Carolinas and the best workwear brands like Harriet, Carhartt, and Wrangler. Find us on Norman Station Boulevard in Mooresville.
The change of seasons is tough on your system. Dust, wear, and cold snaps test its strength. Let Horn Heating and Air Conditioning prep your home before the holidays, so your heat will be ready when you need it most. Fall into the season of ah. Visit hornhvac.com, where your comfort is our business.
It feels good to be needed, and Angels and Sparrows needs you. Our full play fundraiser is underway, and your gift brings hope home to Lake Norman. One meal, one child, one family, changed by your gift. Give today at angelsandsparrows.org. Hope starts with you.
Jay White here from Central Line Realty. We're right in the center of North Carolina, and we put you at the center of everything we do. If you're selling a home, buying a home, or adding doors to your rental portfolio, put the team at Central Line Realty to work for you. Go to centrallinerealty.com and let's get started.
Welcome to a Bible Minute with Pastor Randy Mitchell from Temple Baptist Church in Statesville.
The Bible says in 1 John chapter 2, verse number 15, "Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him." Folks, when God talks about loving the world is not just the breaking of the Ten Commandments. The world is a system, and the worldly system is orchestrated by Satan. It feeds off of our fleshly, sinful nature, and it's everything about us that wants to influence us and affect our life toward things that dishonor God. The next verse talks about the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life. These are all the things, the categories of the love of the world. But obviously, a relationship with God is a love relationship. We have to make a choice. You can love the world or you can love God, but you can't do both.
Thanks for listening to a Bible Minute with Pastor Randy Mitchell here on WSIC.
I'll be honest, I wanted to be a diva. Why feel guilty? Let me help you be a diva for a few hours a week. Yes, I'm Andrea, owner of Spotless Cleaning. Our guarantee? It is very special. If you're unhappy, we'll do it again. Still unhappy? Your fee is donated to a charity of your choice. The Docinho de Coco Guarantee. To honor my grandparents, who taught me both a spotless house and time to live life big are important. Spotless Cleaning and C.com.
Hey folks, you know Randy Marion is the king of price when it comes to buying a new vehicle or a pre-owned vehicle. But how about king of price when it comes to the service department? Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville, Randy Marion Ford Lincoln in Statesville has you covered on tires, brakes, batteries, wipers, you name it. Any service you need on your vehicle, regardless of the make or model, come see Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville Service Department or Randy Marion Ford Lincoln Service Department today.
The button pushing stops here.
WSIC. Local starts here.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. The average price of a home in the U.S. has risen more than 50% since the pandemic, and last month prices rose another 2%. The National Association of Realtors says the national median home sales price topped $422,000 in August, providing more headwinds to sales of pre-owned homes, which slipped 0.2% last month. A major seller of pre-owned cars says it's been slammed by tariff talk. Used vehicle chain CarMax says year-over-year sales fell more than 6% last quarter, thanks in large part to buyers in the previous quarter rushing to purchase their rides ahead of imported car tariffs kicking in. CarMax stock is down 25%. Even as the government revises its measure of April to June U.S. economic growth to 3.8%, fastest pace in almost 2 years, Wall Street is stepping back. Amid a rout for big tech stocks, the Dow is losing 0.1%, NASDAQ down more than 0.5%, S&P down 1/3. Andrew O'Day, Bloomberg Radio.
Friendly reminder, don't brake when you see the lake.
WSIC. Local starts here.
Cornelius News, Heritage, and Community. We're back with About Town, hosted by Mayor Woody Washam. Only on WSIC. Local starts here.
And we're back. Robert Carney here, Cornelius Town Commissioner, joined by former Mayor of Mooresville, Bill Thunberg, and the head of the Lake Norman Transportation Commission. So, Bill, when we broke, we were talking about traffic, roads, transportation, politics has no place in it because it's all about getting things done for your citizens, for your community, for your neighbors. But it wasn't always like that, was it?
No, and that was one of the actual issues that was that helped spur us forward with the creation of the Lake Norman Regional Transportation Commission. But because it was political back in those days, and from 2007 until about 2013, we worked to amp up our political involvement because we felt like we were being ignored to be able to serve the citizens of Eastern North Carolina with our tax dollars. So we were working hard in trying to make that not be true. And I participated with Mayor Pat McCrory and some of the other mayors on the business BCRR something, Business Committee for Regional Roads or something. And so we were always having discussions about the fact that it was unfair. And I don't even like to use the word fair because subjectively it means I didn't get what I want. But but when Pat became mayor, one of his primary initiatives was to fix that. And that's where the strategic transportation's investment legislation came forward and said, we're going to change this so that our region competes fairly. Again, that word fair, or let's use equitably with everyone else. And so that's where the strategic transportation initiative legislation came from.
And I remember because this is going back to my economic development days. I remember, hearing from the communities that I was working in, representing, just talking about, and I think all of our listeners probably know, like driving out, in Eastern North Carolina, whenever you have these major road systems that there's no traffic on there and things like that. And the joke was back then was that in Eastern North Carolina, whenever they sent somebody to Raleigh, it was a life sentence. They stayed there. They kept
in the
getting
legislature.
Yep, that's right. And because of that, that translated very well to the prioritization of road projects because they had a tremendous amount of influence through NCDOT. And then McCrory gets elected, and with that passes legislation with the STI. And in doing so, it provides basically a formula for how all roads are to be prioritized. And for the first time, it starts taking into account things like congestion, safety. I mean, there's a multitude. Economic development is one of those, but it basically put and prioritized all road projects have to fall into these 8 to 10 categories. And based upon the weight of that, we're going to now score them. And based upon your score is where funds are going to flow. And what was funny about it is at that point in time that he was getting elected, I was joking saying, we finally have some really influential people that can help us get, our road project prioritized. And then this legislation gets passed. And I was still overjoyed because I was like, okay, even though we had those influential people that no longer have that influence because it's now moved from who to more of this
how
formula.
You score.
Yeah, how you score. I was like, over the long term, that's better because I knew our region would do very, very well based upon that. And it really has.
Yeah. Well, and initially, I mean, like you were saying, under the old system, congestion was not in the scoring of projects. I don't really know what was in the scoring of projects, but congestion wasn't in there. And one of the biggest oddities is that a 2-lane road in Eastern North Carolina competed with a 4-lane road in Western North Carolina or anywhere else. There was no provision for additional lanes in terms of the scoring and things like that, and the level of congestion. So, congestion on a 2-lane road is different than congestion on a 4 or 6 or 8-lane road.
Absolutely.
And so when Pat McCrory got in there, God bless him, he changed that. He and the people that were working with him were able to get that STI legislation passed, and immediately when congestion became a part of the formula, we started getting a lot of projects. There were, I think and Mooresville had $600 million worth of projects when $600 million was $600 million. And I think, probably Cornelius had $300 million and another $300 million in Huntersville. So we immediately got projects because of the level of congestion in the region. So we were big beneficiaries of the STI legislation.
Yeah, I mean, taking time into consideration. I mean, we're talking about help me with my timelines. I'm terrible about that stuff, but we're still, I would say, early in the benefits of this STI legislation being passed. Because again, to your point, how long it takes to go from concept to reality relative to a project. We're still probably in the infancy stage about really addressing, this greater area's needs. Would that be correct, or am I missing something?
If you don't mind, I'll take a couple of minutes and just kind of paint a picture for the folks that are listening.
Sure.
The STI legislation came into effect in 2013, and so we had our first prioritization process in place basically in 2014.
Okay.
And that was called P 3.0. We're now at P7, but we're still in the design of some P 3.0 projects. And part of the reason for that is economic. The NCDOT went through a period of cash flow issues for a couple of years, which delayed projects. And the reality of the situation is that in North Carolina, most of the funding for roads comes from the gas tax.
Mm-hmm.
There's not been an increase in the gas tax, but there's been a huge increase in the population. So the cost curve has gone up and the revenue curve has gone down. And the cost curve continues to go up. Just for example, the project on the NC 150 in Mooresville, when we originally scoped that project, it was $50 million, and it's $367 million today. So that's how the cost curve has gone up.
That's right.
So and the revenue curve is heading in the wrong direction. So we're headed for some kind of budgetary awakening here, and it's going to have to happen soon if we're going to continue to build out the road system that we need.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when electric vehicles were first coming, online. This is years ago, and we had, a head of NCDOT coming and talking to us, saying like, "Hey guys, these cars are incredibly fuel efficient, and they're paying nothing in taxes. We're going to have a great reckoning of how do we generate the necessary revenue to pay for roads based upon all these factors." And that's a very real thing. And maybe whenever we get back, I know you have your ear to the ground on these items. Maybe you can give us a little insight as to maybe what NCDOT and other organizations are looking at from that great financial reckoning and what that might look like in the near future.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, you have About Town. I'm Robert Carney, and with the great Bill Thunberg. We'll be right back.
Connecting you to Cornelius. Stories, projects, and voices. Don't go away. More About Town next, only on WSIC. Local starts here.
We'll expect some considerable cloudiness for our Thursday. High temperatures are warm again, back in the mid and upper 80s, and mostly dry as we go throughout the day. Heading into the evening into our Friday, scattered showers and a thunderstorm possible. Friday afternoon also looks to be drier with high temperatures in the low 80s. Heading into the weekend, Saturday brings some occasional rain. Sunday, maybe not as much. That's your forecast. The WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. The 500 Club in Statesville kicks the weekend off early on Thursday, September 25th with the Thirsty Thursdays tournament. Call the 500 Club, 704-872-9990 for more information on entertainment, golf lessons, club memberships, the Victory Lane Sports Bar and Grill, and tea times. Saturday is the Fall Taba Walk in Old Town Cornelius. Town Hall and the Oak Street Mill are your destinations for a community celebration featuring live music, local vendors, craft beers, food trucks, kid zones, street art, a petting zoo, and more. The Fall Taba Walk is from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Saturday in Old Town Cornelius. NASCAR's National Series return to Charlotte Motor Speedway October 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The Craftsman Truck Series race will be Friday, October 3rd. The Xfinity Series holds the Blue Cross NC 250 on Saturday the 4th, while the Cup Series races the Bank of America Roval 400 on Sunday, October 5th. Click on charlottemotorspeedway.com for tickets and information about NASCAR's fall weekend and the World of Outlaws on the dirt track coming in November. Things are getting wild at the Carolina Classic Fair, and we mean every moment. From October 3rd through October 12th at the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds, you'll find exhilarating rides, irresistible eats, but entertainment that's anything but ordinary. Barn to be Wild means fun for everyone, whether you're chasing thrills, chowing down, or showing off your blue ribbon skills. Steer yourself towards the fun and buy your tickets today at carolinaclassicfair.com.
The Renaissance Festival is back! Saturdays and Sundays, October 4th through November 23rd. A non-stop outdoor family adventure. Huzzah! Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com while supplies last.
Stay up to date and find out about local events, job opportunities, real estate information, and more. Visit liveworkplaylkn.com and sign up for the weekly newsletter. That's liveworkplaylkn.com.
Cornelius News, Heritage, and Community. We're back with About Town, hosted by Mayor Woody Washam, only on WSIC. Local starts here.
All right, welcome back. Robert Carney here, Cornelius Town Commissioner, joined by former Mayor Bill Thunberg, and also he is currently the head of the Lake Norman Transportation Commission. Bill, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you, Robbie.
So we were talking about, we were talking about the fact that DOT and their revenue source for how they fund roads has been drastically declining. As I say, as cars get more fuel efficient, that means they're not using enough gasoline, gas tax, therefore, and then now you have, a substantial amount of electric vehicles that are also running. All those cars, though, are using our roads. And so while the needs and demands for road funding has never been greater, the revenue source that supports it has been on a consistent decline. So what I'm just curious, I won't hold you, and for all of our listeners at home, we're just talking in abstract about what potential solutions might be out there that the state's looking at. So I'm curious, any insight that you might have for us.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Robbie. The state's been struggling with that for many years, and they've been doing some studies. And there's a commission called the North Carolina First Commission, and several other folks are involved in trying to crack that nut. But the fact remains that the curve is headed in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
We're being asked to do more with less and less and less every day. And so in the transportation area, we've got to do something. And so the things that they've been considering are like taxing on vehicle miles traveled,
Mm-hmm.
and increasing car registration fees. And so we've also, people don't realize how much trucks pay as a part of their use of the facilities, and people can argue they don't pay enough because of the weight of the vehicles and what happens to the roads. So there's not going to be a silver bullet.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, what's been happening around the rest of the country, and we certainly have seen it in our region, is the use of P3s, where you have private investors come in and do the work for you, and they get paid back over time,
right?
With tolls or concessions or whatever the case may be. So, the future, you'll look at 77 South has been approved to be a toll facility.
Mm-hmm.
There are toll facilities in Raleigh. So you'll probably see more of that. And what we need is some fresh thinking. So if any of the folks out there in Radio Land have some fresh ideas about how you can get some serious revenue, and it's important.
I think I think that's wonderful too. Maybe help people understand how they can make sure that their voice is heard relative to these things. Because whenever you talk about a use tax, you've talked about increasing registration fees, you've talked about a third party entity coming in and then saying, "Hey, we'll fund this thing," but for us to fund it, we're going to then start doing a tolling option, which, Lake Norman knows that very, very well. That, in all cases, they can be argued as very hot button items. How can citizens kind of get more involved in that conversation and doing outreach and things like that? That would be helpful.
Yeah, so the idea is, and I understand this too, is I've paid my taxes where my roads. It's a nice cliche, and you're seeing some of your roads, and this region has done well, and Cornelius has done particularly well in providing for its citizens in making investments. But
I think the citizens would argue. Some citizens would be like, we haven't done nearly enough and we're not doing it. And with the resources we have, we really are trying to do absolutely everything possible. But there's still a lot more work to be done.
With the resources that you have.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's correct.
So you don't have unlimited resources. The state doesn't have unlimited resources. And we have to innovate our way out of this. And one of the current innovations is P3s. And so, and you listed some of the other ones. So which one of these do you like, of these bad ideas, do you like the best?
That's right.
Because, and unless there is, some other thing that you can do, somebody has to pay for it.
Yes.
So, we could mine asteroids, but I'm just, that is an example of the magical thinking, is that you can do these things for free and you can create it out of thin air.
Right.
What we need is, instead of magical thinking, we need smart people to say, have you thought about this?
Yes.
As a means of, being able to produce the revenue that we need to provide, transportation systems. And the state has come our way a lot over time. Used to, they didn't provide for sidewalks and pedestrian access or trails or walking facilities. And now, as a part of their Complete Streets program, those are a part of the project. Used to, the community had to pay for those. So, so the state's come in our direction a lot on this, but there's only so much you can do with the resources that you have. And so, we need some good thinking on behalf of the citizens to tell us what you want. That's not magical.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't stress that enough. I mean, I know Cornelius does. I know the Lake Norman region does. We do listen. We do surveys. We actually survey our community so much that sometimes I feel bad how much we're asking of them to give feedback. But we try to utilize that. We do small groups. We do transportation committees, all for the purposes of driving innovation, innovative, creative ideas that can kind of find their way all the way up to Raleigh and then possibly represent solutions that can be enacted. And so I will say, you hit on it, and I think you did a beautiful job doing so. We have to all understand that there are no perfect solutions. Every solution, and we're on the radio, I don't want to use bad language, but every solution is a crap sandwich, and you got to take a bite, and it's which one is the least painful for your community. And I'll give you a small example. A month ago, right next to my neighborhood, we had a broken water line that was slowly leaking. It had been doing so for about 8 months. And then finally, all the neighbors had ganged up on me and said, "Hey, Robbie, can you call some?" I was like, this is Charlotte Water. I was like, I don't manage Charlotte, but I'll call and I'll see if we can't get that taken care of. I called, they came out and they fixed it. And so I sent it out to my neighborhood saying like, hey guys, look, your local neighborhood elected leader got something accomplished. And one would think that that would make everybody happy, except I had the local neighborhood kids come to my door and say, how dare I get that fixed? They were having a great time playing in that broken water, and they had a small stream and river that they were getting to play in consistently. But now that it's fixed, they no longer have that amenity to play in. So even in that silly, dumb example, you see, you can never please everybody with any decision made. You're always there are no perfect solutions. But what you can try to do is you can try to really listen, really engage the community, and take innovation, take creativity, and try to drive that into something meaningful for the community and through the state.
Yeah, and it's all about solutions. It's about step 1, step 2, step 3. It's not about what you think. It's about what you can do.
Right.
And so the things that are within our power, that we have the resources to do, and that they are priorities, we can only do our best. So if we don't have the resources to fully reach that priority, well, we can get us this far.
Right.
And so, and then the question is where can we get additional resources?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got to pay.
That's right.
So I don't know how to magical think my way out of that one, but somebody's got to pay. And it doesn't make a whole lot of difference about what happened yesterday. We're here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
No. I think it's wonderful insight. I'm grateful. Tell me this. What is top of mind right now that the LNTC is working on at this moment? What's some of the bigger hot topic items that you guys are keenly focused on?
Well, we're clean. It depends on the actual jurisdiction that it's in. So for example, in Davidson, they're not going to be, making projects to have more roads. They're focusing their issue on bike ped and alternative transportation kinds of aspects. So one of the things that has come out of that is the concept of micro transit, and so I think we're really dealing with micro transit right now in terms of what is it, how does it work, what's the best investment for the citizens and things like that. So that's an area of focus right now.
Okay.
But our main focus never changes: getting projects funded that benefit the citizens of the region.
Sure. So, I'm trying to think, Cornelius is no stranger to, projects around greenways. I mean, this is one of our key focuses, is not only on traffic, transportation, and all these projects that we have ongoing, but it's also on like greenways and making sure that we're providing for our community, because that's been another big thing that's come out. So how is the LNTC kind of helping out in that way? And I know we're short on time, so it's going to be a quick answer.
I'll just give you a quick answer. We develop projects for greenway funding, and Cornelius has been very good in its project proposals and has gotten significant funding through so thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, again, I can't thank you enough for being such an asset to this region, for leading the charge with the LNTC and all that you do. It's always great to get to catch up with an old friend. I really, really appreciate your time. And thank you to the Lake Norman community for listening in. And we hope that the rest of your day is blessed and you guys take care. Thank you so much.